So, what is homelessness?
So we have in Canada fabulous definitions created about what homelessness is that I always point to because they are so comprehensive of what we understand homelessness to be. And so in Canada, our definition of homelessness falls along four elements in the typology. And so the first two are ones that we might think of automatically when we think of homelessness. So that's absolutely homeless. So people who are living on the street or in a park, in an encampment, something like that. And the second is emergency sheltered homeless. And so that's people who are staying in some kind of shelter, whether it be a hotel shelter during COVID or what we think of as a typical shelter. But then it's the other two that I think are very important and often get missed in the conversation. And that's people who are provisionally accommodated. And provisionally accommodated means people who are staying somewhere, have a roof over their head, but it's temporary and they can't count on it as a long-term solution to their housing situation. So that could be somebody who's couch surfing, who's staying with a friend, but it's time limited. Somebody who's staying even in transitional housing, right? Which is actually a great thing, but usually those have time limits and you have to be out after anywhere from like 30 days to 2 years. And so there's an expiration date on your housing. And so that's provisionally accommodated. We can also think about people who are in hospital or who are in a prison or a jail as provisionally accommodated if there is an understanding that they're going to exit into homelessness. And so while they might have a roof over their head tonight, that's not really solving their homelessness situation. And then the fourth element on that continuum is at risk of homelessness. And so this is the one that I really want to pay attention to because we don't talk about this enough. And that's people who have somewhere to stay, but it is not safe or affordable or an acceptable place to live. And so that can be somebody who's facing eviction. It could be somebody who's living in housing that's not suitable, that's overcrowded, that's not suitable to their family composition. And so one of the clear examples of that is housing on First Nations reserves. That is many family members staying in one, let's say a 1 or a 2 bedroom house because that's all that's available to them. Also up north is where we see that happening as well. It could be somebody who's experiencing domestic violence and is staying in the home because otherwise they're going to experience homelessness. So it's not a safe home to be in. And so when we think about those four elements of homelessness, we really see that homelessness is much bigger than we might have originally thought. The Canadian Mortgage Housing Corporation says that anybody who spends more than 30% of their income on housing, so that's on your rent and on your utilities, are in what we call core housing need, which means that if you're one crisis away, or you could be, from experiencing homelessness. And so 1.5 million Canadians are in core housing need, who could be in that at risk of homelessness category. And we've seen with COVID, that could be that incident, that one crisis that could lead to somebody experiencing homelessness. So the picture is much larger than we might originally think.